Hi and welcome to Simple and Compound Interest. Just before we start, a reminder that there is a notes jotter available for this video. Just check the description below for a download link and you can work along with me as we go through. So we're going to start by looking at simple interest. And simple interest is basically a percentage which is being provided to someone on a yearly basis generally, where each year you just receive the same amount based on how much you started off with at the start of the investment. And this comes with a formula. The simple interest earned is the percentage that you are being given times by the investment and times by the years. Now in this case I just want to point out I have put investment in inverted commas there. That's because not necessarily is this going to be about an investment as in trying to earn money. This may be that you've taken out a loan and therefore you actually are owing more money. And also in terms of the years, generally we give interest at the end of each year, but it may well be that it's a monthly return, and so you just need to be careful with the question. But generally a simple version of the formula would be the percentage times the investment times the years. So let's try that out. A loan of £300 gains 3% simple interest every year. How much is owed after 5 years? So in this case, all I want to do is I just want to use that formula that we had, the amount of interest earned. So the simple interest earned would be the percentage, which is 3%. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to make that a decimal, so 0.03. And I'm going to multiply it by the investment. Now again, in this case, this one's actually a loan. So the investment is actually the amount of money that we owe to somebody, which is £300. And then we need to multiply it by the number of years. And so we're looking for at the end of 5 years. And so if we didn't pay anything back on this loan, we would have to pay 0.03 times 300 times 5 in terms of interest. So just going to grab the calculator and we will type in 0.03 times 300 times 5, and that is 45. Now this is not saying that at the end of the 5 years you would only owe £45, because obviously you actually started off with a loan of 300. This is just the interest earned, and so the total would actually be the £300 that we started with plus the £45 that we've earned in interest. And so at the end of 5 years, if we didn't pay off anything in between those 2 points, we would owe £345. The value of a car depreciates by 7% simple interest per year. If it was bought for £4,500, how much is it worth after 10 years? Well, in this case, the investment is the amount of money that we paid in. There's our percentage, so 7% is 0.07. We bought it at £4,500 and we've left it for 10 years because we've kept that car for 10 years. And so, in order to work out the interest, we're going to have to just type all that into a calculator. So 0.07 times 4,500 times 10. Well, that is £3,150. But again, in this case, this was about a car depreciating. Now, a car depreciates means it loses value. And so this interest of £3,150 is actually the amount of money we have lost on the car. And so £4,500, we are going to take away £3,150. And so we're actually just left with a value of £1,350 because we have lost 10% each year. And then finally, £200 is invested into an account paying 8% simple interest per year. How much interest is earned in 6 years? And so we have our percentage at 8%, 0.08. We have our investment, and in which this case it actually is an investment, it's £200, and the number of years is 6. We'll type all of that into our calculator, 0.08 times 200 times 6, and we get 96, and that is pounds. And we just need to check, do we need to do anything with this? Is it adding on, subtracting? Well, the question was how much interest is earned, and therefore this is the final answer. That is the interest that we would earn on the investment. Next we come to compound interest, and compound interest is actually much more realistic in the real world. Simple interest is not used very often, but compound interest is, because compound interest is where interest builds on top of what has already been earned. So at the end of one year you receive your interest, and then the next year you are earning interest based on what is there in total. And so this one, it's a repeated percentage change. And it has a formula. The value of compound interest investment is the investment times a multiplier to the power of years. So it's raised to a power of the number of years you are leaving it there for. And so again, just like I said before, investment, inverted commas, again, this may be a loan, so you're increasing, you're actually going to increase the amount you owe rather than what you are investing. But in other cases, in things like bank accounts, that would be an investment, and it will be increasing as time went by. So let's have a look. A loan of £300 gains 3% compound interest every year. How much is owed after 5 years? Well, in this case, the investment is the loan, so that's 300, and it's going to be multiplied by a multiplier, and this comes from the fact that it's gaining 3%. So if it gains 3%, we started with 100%, and we've added on an extra 3%, and so now what we're actually dealing with is 103%, and so our multiplier here is 1.03. Now if I just did that, 300 times 1.03, that would give me the interest after 1 year, but this is happening for 5 years, and so this times 1.03, I would do it again for the second year, I would do it again for the third year, I would do it again for the fourth year, and I would do it again for the fifth year. But what we can do is, just to make this a little bit easier for ourselves, instead of writing this out 5 times, well, we can just write 1.03 to the power of 5. And so we can, in our calculator, get the answer very, very quickly. 300 times 1.03 to the power of 5 and that gives us 347.7822223. Remember, this is money though, so we are going to round it to 2 decimal places, so £347.78. And so if we didn't pay anything off on that loan, we would be up to £347.78 that we owed. Next, the value of a car depreciates by 7% compound interest per year. If it was bought for £4,500, how much is it worth after 10 years? Well, again, the investment is the amount of money that we've spent. The multiplier comes from the fact that we bought the car at full price, so 100%, but we are losing 7% each year. So if we take 7% off, we are now just dealing with 93%. And so our multiplier is 0.93. And then in this case again, we could keep times them by 0.93, 0.93, 0.93, but we would have to write that out 10 times, and so it would be much easier if we just used a power. So let's raise that to the power of 10 and grab a calculator. 4,500 times 0.93 to the power of 10. And let's see what that's left us with. We are left with £2,177.92. 2,177.92. And so, over the course of those 10 years, we have lost more than half of the value of the car. Finally, £200 is invested into an account paying 8% compound interest per year. how much interest is earned in 6 years? Well, we have our investment of 200. We are receiving 8% interest, so that is being added on. So again, we had our original 100% and we are now being given an extra 8%, so we are dealing with 108%. So our multiplier is 1.08. We've been given it for 6 years, and so we will raise the 1.08 to the power of 6 and we will get an answer. And so 200 times 1.08 times to the power of 6, and that equals £317.37. £317.37. Has this answered the question? Well, it asked how much interest is earned. Now, we have not earned £317.37 interest. This is the value of the investment at the end of those 6 years. Therefore, for this one, in order to work out the interest that is earned, so just the extra, I need to actually do 317.37, and I need to take away the original investment. And so what we've actually earned is £117.37. And so in our last set of examples, we're going to look at how we can make a decision as to which one is actually going to be the most beneficial between two possible different investments. So Barry has £2,000 to invest into a savings account for 5 years. He can choose Bank A, which gives 3% simple interest per year, or Bank B, which gives 2.5% compound interest per year. Which bank should he choose? Well, the first thing I want to do here is something that I always recommend when comparing, just to split the page. So start with Bank A on one side of the page and Bank B on the other side of the page, just to make it very clear that you're doing all your calculations about Bank A on the left and Bank B on the right. And then you are told that he's going to invest £2,000 for 5 years. In Bank A, it's simple interest. So what we're going to have to do here is work out how much interest he's going to earn. And so we begin with his percentage. He's gaining 0.03%. 0.03 or 3%. And that is being multiplied by his investment of £2,000. And because it's simple interest, it's just multiplied by 5. He gets that every single year. And so we grab our calculator, 0.03 times 2,000 and times 5. And he gets £300. And so that is the interest earned. Now, if that's the interest earned, then the total amount in his account at the end is going to be £2,300. So at the end of his 5 years, he will have £2,300. With Bank B, it is compound interest. And therefore, we take his original investment and we multiply it by the multiplier. It is 2.5% added on. So he had 100%, and then we added an extra 2.5%, and so that is 102.5%. Now, if I want to write that as a multiplier, I divide it by 100 to make it a decimal, which would be 1.025. It's then going to be raised to the number of years that he has the investment. So it's going to be for 5 years, so we raise to the power of 5. If we type that into our calculator, we get 2,000 times 1.025 to the power of 5, and we get 2262.82 pounds. Let's just check. Yeah. And so in this case, with it being compound interest, this is the total. And so which of the two investments is his best option? Well, in this case, the 2,300 is larger than the £2,262.82, and therefore Bank A would be his best choice. And so the same again, this time we've got a bank offers a savings account where you will receive 6% interest in your first year, reducing to 4% for your second year, and then 2% for the remaining years. how much will an investment of £1,000 be worth after 6 years? So this one is slightly different in that we have, in each case, something different happening in each year. So what we want to do is this time break it down into different sections. So at the end of year 1, I'm going to receive 6% interest. And so my investment of £1,000 is going to be increased by 6. And therefore I'm going to multiply by 1.06. That is a 6% increase. And so if I do that, I have 1,000 times 1.06, and I get 1,060. And so at the end of year 1, I have £1,060. At the end of year 2, you only get 4% interest. So at the end of year 2, you are going to receive 1.04 as your multiplier. But it's important here that this 1,060 is your new starting value, because that is what was in the account at the start of year 2. And so at the end of year 2, we have 1,060 times 1.04. 1060 times 1.04. And we get 5512 over 5, which is 1,102.4. So 1,102.4. Now remember, this is money, so actually 0.40. And then for the remaining years, you only get 2% interest. But it wants to know how much you would get after 6 years. So we could say, well, at the end of 3 years, we would times by 1.02. At the end of 4 years, we times by 1.02. At the end of 5 years, times 1.02. At the end of 6 years, times 1.02. But because this is repeated change of the same value, what we could actually say is, well, this is times 1.02 to the power of 4. There is our compound interest, because we're using the same percentage increase over and over again. And so all I'm going to do is that original amount from the end of year 2 multiplied by 1.02 to the power of 4. And so times 1.02 to the power of 4, and that gives me 1193.27. 1193.27. And so at the end of those 6 years, that investment will be worth £1,193.27. And in our last example, we're going to look at depreciation. So the value of a car depreciates with compound interest. It was bought for £5,000. After 3 years, it was worth £3,893.44. What was the percentage depreciation? So in this case, what we are dealing with is another slightly different situation. We have our investment of £5,000. And what we've done is we've multiplied this by some value to the power of 3. And we've done that because it was after 3 years. And what we found out is that the answer at the end is 3893.44. And so what I need to do here is decide, how will I actually work out what this value here is? Well, let's call it x. And this is now an equation which we need to solve. And in order to solve this, the first thing I'm going to have to do is divide both sides by 5,000. And so if I do that, I get that x cubed equals, let's grab our calculator, 3893.44 divided by 5,000. That is 0.778688. But we want to find out what x is. So x is being cubed to make 0.778688. So I'm going to have to cube root both sides. And if I cube root both sides, I get the cube root of this. So I'm just going to use ants in here. and it is 0.92. And so that is 0.92. Now, that is giving me the multiplier that has been used, 0.92. The question was, what was the percentage depreciation? And so what does 0.92 actually mean? Well, 0.92 means an 8% decrease, because we've taken 8% off 100%, and therefore the percentage depreciation is 8%. And so we end with the exam question, and it came from the Edexcel paper in June 2017, and it was Foundation Paper 2. Foundation Paper 2 telling us that we can actually use a calculator for this. And it says that Anil wants to invest £25,000 for 3 years in a bank. The personal bank gives compound interest at 2% for every year. Secure bank gives compound interest but 4.3% for the first year and then 0.9% for each extra year. So which bank will Anil get the most interest at the end of 3 years? We need to show all of our working. Well, again, we've got a choice between two things. So the first thing I'm going to do is split up my page, and I've got personal bank and I've got secure bank, just so I can keep track of what is going on in each case. Now, Anil has £25,000 to invest. Therefore, for the first one, all we're going to do is 25,000 times by a multiplier. So he's getting 2% extra, so that's going to be 1.02, and he's holding it for 3 years. So we're going to raise it to the power of 3. All I'm going to do is type that straight into my calculator. So 25,000 times 1.02 cubed, and that is 26530.20. And so from the personal bank, he's going to raise about £1,530. For the secure bank, we do have a slightly different situation. He is investing £25,000 in the first year with 4.3% interest. Now 4.3%, well, that will give us 104.3%, which as a decimal is 1.043. And in this case, because this is happening, the next year I can work this value out straight away, or I could just treat it that the next year I'm getting 0.9% for the other years, so that would be 100.9% or 1.009. So that will be the second year, and then times them by 1.009 again for the third year. And so I'm just going to type all of that into the calculator, and I'm going to do it in one go so I don't make any mistakes with rounding. So 25,000 times 1.043 times 1.009 times 1.009, and I get the answer 26546.46. And the question was, in which bank will I receive the most interest? Well, if we want to just be really specific here, we can find out what the interest is by subtracting 25,000. And so the interest at the first bank is £1,530.20, and at the second bank, well, that would be 1546.46. And so the largest amount is coming from Secure Bank by about £16.